Some people call them the best movies. Some people call them the top movies of the year. All I know, these were my favorites. I'm so excited. The time has come. I get to tell you about my favorite movies of 2014. I'm going to do 15 here on the video. I will tell you I rank the top 41 movies of the year for me at my website, yourmoviefriend.com. We'll throw a link to that somewhere here that you can go if you want to check out the entire list of all 41 movies. But I want to talk a little bit about the top 15 for you. So we're going to go through them. I've got my cheat sheet here so I can remember exactly what order they go in and tell you a little bit about number 15 to number 1. Now, I'll say before I start, please, in the comments, let me know what I missed. Now, granted, it could be in my top 41 somewhere, and let me know like movies I rank too high, movies I rank too low. I love those conversations. It's one of my favorite things about ranking movies for the year is the conversation that happens afterwards. So go to the YouTube video if you're there already. Right down there, do some comments, let me know exactly what you think, and of course subscribe while you're here too. So let's start at number 15 and work our way to number 1, and in at number 15 is a movie called Chef. Much higher than I would have anticipated at the end of the day, but I really loved this movie. I love that it's about a father and a son. I love that Jon Favreau not only created a movie that was kind of his passion project, but also the movie itself is about creation. It's about creating something that you're passionate about and not just something that makes money, which is really interesting with Favreau because, of course, he's been in the Marvel Universe and made those money-making films, and here he makes this kind of downplayed, low-budget movie with some great performances in it, and you can just tell he loves what he's doing. So I really enjoyed Chef. I've watched it a few times, and it holds up quite well. In at number 14, Interstellar. I would have thought this would have been higher if you asked me before the year. Certainly, I was anticipating it more than a lot of movies that ended up ranking higher on my list. But I still loved it. I still really liked Interstellar. Yes, there are some flaws. A lot of my close friends think it's way too long. I don't get that. I think it holds its length pretty well. For me, the reason it's this low, and again, number 14 of the year, that's still really good. But the reason it didn't kind of get up into the top 10 is it's a little too abstract for its own good. The story is great. I love the father-daughter stuff, but the science stuff is just a little bit beyond itself, so much so that I don't think it actually holds together. But then again, maybe I'm just not smart enough to know if it holds together. The point being, it's still a really good movie, and I have really enjoyed watching it. Number 13, Whiplash. Yes, Whiplash, about jazz band direction and drumming. Whiplash is, of course, Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons, I remember their names this time, putting on a really amazing kinetic performance about what pressure is and how to be driven. This is a must-see movie, and again, why it's in the top 15 at number 13. Number 12, the latest X-Men movie, Days of Future Past. Really enjoyed this movie. The way it combined all the X-Men universe, the movie universe, I should say, the film universe, into one movie was really dexterous. That's a tough task, and I'm not saying it pulled it off flawlessly, but it pulled it off really, really well. So I really enjoyed that. My favorite X-Men movie, I think, to this point, and thus why it comes in at number 12. Number 11, Edge of Tomorrow. Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, starting each day over and over again. A movie that would have been higher had it not been for the ending. One of the worst endings of the year. The rest of the movie, I loved it. I was engaged. I was with it. I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's like something we've seen before in like Groundhog's Day and other movies, but it's doing it so well and so cleverly, and it's funny and it's engaging. And then the end is like, no, that makes no sense. What are you doing? I could have that conversation all over again. Suffice to say, still a great movie, and why it's ranked at number 11 for me. Number 10, it's a musical. It's Into the Woods. I cannot stop singing these songs. And that's, to me, one of the key things about a musical. If you come away and the tunes are going through your head and the words and the cleverness of the writing, that's what I love, and Into the Woods has all that. Plus, it's just fun. It's a really great story, and it's deep. It's much deeper than people are giving it credit for. It's this thing about adulthood and about trials and about fairy tales and how they're not real, and the whole first part of the movie sets you up in this fairy tale world, and you're like, oh, it's a fairy tale. And then the second half of the movie, you're like, oh, it's not a fairy tale. In fact, it's saying something about fairy tales and how we teach our kids and how we tell them stories and Much deeper movie than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I loved Into the Woods, and it kicks off our top 10. Number 9, Captain America, The Winter Soldier. I love this movie. I'm just like a Marvel sucker. I guess their films, whatever they're putting, the secret ingredient, that secret juice they put in the Marvel movies, I'm drinking it up. I'm addicted. I think this is well cast. I think it's well played. I think the twist, if you know the comics, you knew it was coming. I didn't, and I loved it. It was engaging to me, and I think overall, the energy of the action was one of the things I was really drawn to in the new Captain America. So it comes in at number 9. Number 8, Locke. Concept movie, one man in a car making phone calls for an hour and a half. That does not sound like you could hold my attention, but there are a few movies that held my attention as well as Locke did. That comes down to Tom Hardy. Incredible performance here in Locke. One I would definitely recommend in at number 8. Number 7, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Andy Serkis is a genius. That's all I really need to say. I love his performance in this. I love the way they do the mocap in this. I think is stellar and expert, and I've watched this movie probably 3 or 4 times. And what strikes me each time is how the dramatic tension holds up. Even though I know the story and I know what's happening, they really build the tension in this movie really, really well. Very impressive work, especially when you consider these apes are speaking in mostly sign language and then spoken language, and that interaction is beautifully captured. The emotion is all there. There's these beautiful dynamics about what it means to be us and them, and why we separate ourselves into groups and how possibly we can unite. It's just, I love all the themes, love this movie in at number 7. Number 6, How to Train Your Dragon 2. What I loved about this movie, first of all, How to Train Your Dragon, one of my favorite movies of all time. This one managed to be a great sequel because I think it understood, you know what, we need to go even further into the future than you might think. A lot of sequels, they kind of pick up where the last movie left off. This one's like, no, we're going to go with teenage years. And I thought that is brilliant because it allows you to play with different themes, allows you to play with different ideas of who this character is. Really loved How to Train Your Dragon 2, and it is one of 3 animated movies in my top 6. It has been a good year for animated films. 2 more still to come. We'll get there. Number 5, we're entering the top 5. Selma. Powerful movie, relevant to this time, and a movie I think definitely needs to be seen, especially considering everything that's happened in the news recently. It's really interesting because I'll watch the civil rights movies sometimes and I'll be like, oh man, we've come so far and it's so good to see how far we've come. And it's I know there's still issues to work on, but it's great that we're growing and maturing as a country. This movie comes out after we've been through a section where we're like, wait, are we growing? Are we maturing? What is going on? And you think of Michael Brown and some of the other stories that have happened. And this movie, interestingly enough, asks a lot of those questions that, this movie was produced and being ready to go before that stuff happened. I just think it's a beautiful confluence of timing that makes it even more relevant and even more powerful, and I was glued. Plus, the performances are incredible. Martin Luther King is Martin Luther King in this, and Martin Luther King Jr., I should say, and absolutely loved it. So that's in at number 5. Number 4, Big Hero 6, my second favorite animated movie, and 2 that made the top 5. Big Hero 6 is in at number 4. What more can I say about this other than it's just fun? It's just wish fulfillment and clever writing and genius humor and Baymax. And I love Baymax. In at number 3 is the other animated movie, Lego Movie, my 3rd favorite movie of the year. It's been a while, so you kind of forget how transformative that movie was and almost how transgressive it was and how much it shocked you when it got to the conclusion of it's not the movie you thought it was. And I love that because what it is a movie about meaning, about depth, and I absolutely loved the Lego Movie in at number 3. And so it's on to the final 2, my favorite 2 movies of the year. Number 2, The Imitation Game. Benedict Cumberbatch stars in the true story of a man who basically invented the computer during World War II. This is one of those stories that I had never heard, which I guess for good reason because I didn't actually get revealed until recently in our history. It was kept secret for a long, long time because it happened during the war. Incredible story with incredible twists and turns, and you add to that these amazing performances. And the thing that I love the most about this is its great sense of humor. I love it when a story can be both dramatic and really funny. And there's some really funny moments in this. So something you might want to check out. Great performance by Keira Knightley as well. So here we get to it. The #1 movie of the year for me. And it is easily Guardians of the Galaxy. I did not have more fun in a theater this entire year than I did going to see Guardians of the Galaxy the first, second, and third time. I loved that movie. I love the characters. I love the fact that it's a piece of Marvel history that I didn't know anything about. So I'm going in really kind of blind to who these characters are and just kind of getting to hear their origin story the way they want to tell it. I thought the performances were amazing. I thought Bradley Cooper's take on Rocket Raccoon was great. I thought Chris Pratt was great as kind of that goofy leading man. The effects were wonderful. The story was great. It had that Marvel touch, kind of that Marvel touch of genius to it. It was my favorite movie of the year. I would love to hear what your favorites of the year are. Please comment in the comment section, again, what you thought maybe I left a little too high or left a little too low or maybe didn't include, plus yours. I'd love to know, and please feel free to subscribe. I'd appreciate that as well. By the way, once again, the entire best 41 of the year, my favorite 41 movies of the year in order from 41 to #1 at the website today at yourmoviefriend.com. Thanks, and please subscribe.